Welcome back, everybody, to another episode of Jorge's Isolation Podcast. Thank you for joining me once again. For those of you that are watching either on YouTube or listening on iTunes or Spotify, I thank you. All six of you are beautiful people. And the fact that all six of you have watched it and downloaded it 3 times on different devices, meaning I've got 18 downloads and 18 views on everything I do. I appreciate that. So please, let's try to get it up to 2025. Let's break records this week. And I've got a terrific guest today. This is my friend, very talented actress, singer, and now she's a YouTube sensation, Liz O'Connor. We went to grad school. She was a very interesting person because of all the things that she can do, especially singing. Like singing, I just we'll talk. We'll get into this. Liz, welcome. How have you been?
Thank
Long
you.
lost friend.
Long lost
I haven't
friend
seen you since you
indeed.
graduated.
Is that so? Oh my
Yeah.
God.
2014. It's been
Oh my God.
6 years have flown by, huh?
Yes. Ellipses. Yes and no.
Yeah?
Yes and no. I mean,
Really?
yeah, I feel like, well, yeah, I mean, I feel like in some ways, I feel like, yeah, for sure. And I can't believe that was 6 years ago that we were graduating and on
Playing
that
with
subway
parachutes.
ride. Playing with
Parachutes and
we just jumping right in.
Yeah. Doing dance choreography that's forgotten.
Pina Bausch, was that it? Pina Bausch? Yes, it was Pina Bausch.
Oh, yes.
It was Pina Bausch, right? Did I just like pluck that from obscure memory?
Yes, I totally forgot about that. You know, I was traumatized by all this stuff. And
darling, my knees will never be the same with the rolling on the hard floor and the triple somersaults.
You know what though? I talked I talked a lot of shit about pushing ladders because I think part of my degree and education in Shakespeare was just pushing ladders. But then I saw like Hamilton, and then there was another show that I saw. I was like, oh yeah, there's people that do this on Broadway. So maybe there's hope for me on Broadway. It's probably the only way I'll get on Broadway is pushing a ladder, but I just can't dance that well, even though we did all those cool dances. Man, grad school was crazy, huh?
I mean, just a tad bit.
It's just like like when I was in grad school, it's not like, I mean, you were there. It's the way I explain it to people that do not know anything about acting or the arts. Like, you know, it's not like medical school or law school where you're stuck in a library studying these thick little, you know, books about the anatomy or law cases or whatever like that. It's more like Hogwarts. You know, like every teacher is very eccentric in their own way. Like we've got like Hagrid, we've got like, you know, the professor of the dark arts. There's always somebody there doing something weird.
Why are you speaking my language right now? Wait, who would be Hagrid?
Who would be Hagrid? I don't know. I don't want to name names because
oh, okay, fine.
Because there are people I do like, and sometimes, you know what I mean? Like there's a few teachers I really love, like Gary Vina. He had a full recovery.
I mean, yes, I heard.
Yeah, like that guy, like he was one of the big life changers for me. Just his passion for theater and his knowledge of the theater and its happenings and what shows went on. Like, it's just so amazing to be a part of his class and all that. But we had some times, you know, and just like it's just, I really wish that place had windows. I think that would have changed the atmosphere, the environment a little bit more, because we were like in you know, without sunlight for like 10 hours out of the day. So, you know, and you're stuck in these classes, and then during the winter, it's about 100 degrees because they just don't know how to work their boiler system. So that's blasting heat, and we're getting mad at each other. And there's always some sort of stupid drama happening in a drama school that no longer exists. R.I.P. Bank Street. But yeah. So what's been going on? So we graduated 2014.
Yes. True.
And what did you do from then? We lost touch.
We did lose touch, but to be fair, I mean, I like right after grad school, I went to work in a casting office.
Okay, I
Um,
heard about that. Yeah,
did you hear
I
about
heard that
that?
you did work in a casting. Which office?
Pardon, Schnee.
No way.
Yes.
I think I've been in there a few times. What did they cast? I don't remember.
Oh my God, what didn't they cast? The first season of Jessica Jones
Mm,
on Netflix. 13 Reasons Why. I mean,
mm.
so many things. Yeah,
I think I
a lot.
did. I booked something from there. Did they do? Where was the office at? Was it on 27th or?
Yeah, 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 yeah.
Yes. You know what? I did. There was a movie. It was the very second movie I ever did. It was called Wild Wedding.
Wild Wedding. What year was that?
2015. 2015. Yeah, it was September 2015 when we shot it. It had Glenn Close, John Malkovich, Patrick Stewart.
Oh, where was I? I don't know. I missed you, I suppose.
Yeah, I had one line and it was, "Is this all right, ma'am?" That was it. That was my line. I was moving. I was a mover. And I was talking to Glenn Close. And like, if you watch it, and I even saw them shoot the scene, I'm like, they're not going to know it's me saying this line. They're not going to know. I at least got to go to the staged reading. Oh, not this. Well, like we did the read through, and
Right.
John Malkovich was there. Patrick Stewart was there, and Glenn Close. So I just got a free show. My line was in the first 4 pages. So I'm like, one line. This is awesome. But then, so you worked at the casting office. Did you learn a lot?
Yeah.
Did you like it?
Listen, I learned so much. I always equate it to Dorothy seeing behind the wizard's curtain
Mm,
when she finally gets to Emerald City and then she pulls back the curtain and my response was a bit of like, ah! Like it was like very
yeah.
I'll put it this way, like I had started working as an actor at age 7,
Yeah.
always on the other side of it.
Hmm.
So when I got into the casting office and I started seeing the conversations, and it's really actually really funny because I remember in grad school specifically having loads of conversations with teachers about this is what happens in the casting office. This is what it almost became like a fable, like
Hmm.
fables and fairy tales of like how people actually get cast and what happens when the door closes and what they're going to think about you and everything else. And it was just so completely opposite
Yeah.
to what everyone said and thought.
Yeah.
And I just thought, my God, yeah. So I when I, was privy to those conversations that happened
Hmm.
after every actor had left for the day, and callbacks had to be decided on, decisions had to be made when the producers were in the room, and
Yeah.
everybody else, I was, to be frank, mortified.
Yeah.
And I realized, I mean, I'll give you an example of this.
Yeah.
We're casting a project,
Hmm.
and there were two women who were equally, like, they were neck and neck
Hmm.
for booking it. And they're both equally wonderful, all of the things. They looked really similarly right there. Do you know what it came down to? Do you know what the decision came down to?
Please don't tell me it's like social media or YouTube or.
Instagram.
I knew it. I knew it. I knew it.
Well, who has the most Instagram followers?
Yeah. Yeah.
I said, what? I mean,
It's
in my
yeah.
mind, I said, what? Like, and I just, in that moment, I was like, oh,
Yeah. Yeah.
none of it really matters.
Yeah.
like it's
No.
really, and yeah. So
Well, if you look at it, okay, so they're doing that reboot of She's All That, which they shouldn't do anyway. But the girl that they cast, the one that's supposed to be all that, is Addison Rae, the big TikToker. She's got like her and like the D'Amelio girls, like they have like the most fans on TikTok, and that's how she got the part. I don't know, maybe she can act, I don't know. The thing is, like, she's one of those TikTokers that just does the crazy dances, you know what I
mm,
mean? I mean, there's legitimately, there's some funny people on TikTok. Like, there's this one girl who she does, because you have a minute, or you have 15 seconds or a minute you can do,
uh-huh.
and she breaks down basically like Hallmark movies. Like, it's like, "Hi, businessman Jeffrey, I hate you, but I love my family's business. But my dad is Santa." It's just like there's like brilliant people like that. But and what I started noticing was that too. I went into a few auditions where they did ask if I had a YouTube following, and I mean, I didn't. And then my Instagram was just like nothing spectacular, but I knew that that was going to be a thing because that's happening more and more and more and more, more and
Yeah,
more.
I was unaware. Like I was shocked, and also historically and even now, funnily enough, like I have never been a huge fan of social media
Yeah.
at all. The only reason I have Instagram at all is for the channel,
Yeah.
really. So for me to hear that and for me to kind of get that memo every
Mhm.
day going in there and over and over and over, it absolutely changed my trajectory
Yeah.
about where I always thought I was going from age 7,
Yeah.
and there I was at age 30 going, hold up,
Yeah.
maybe not.
Yeah. No,
So yeah.
I often wonder what it's like on that opposite side, and I have some casting directors I've been in contact with that I'd like to pick their brains, especially now with COVID and all the self taping
Mm,
that's going on, how that's going
yeah,
to change, and how there's a lot of also. And when we were in grad school, I don't think that our teachers were fully up to date with audition techniques in the room.
sure.
You know what I mean? Like when we did
Hmm.
our audition class, I mean, I did not find that helpful one bit. I went into my first auditions, and it was a commercial audition, and the difference between a commercial audition and a TV audition and a film audition are totally different.
Hmm.
And that's a thing that we weren't entirely prepared for, and it's something I had to learn as I went along. Luckily, with those auditions, I ran into people I knew, like friends
Mm.
that were in the theater, in the theater game, and so they helped me out, especially with the commercial. I feel like stupid. I didn't know that the sides were already there, and I didn't have to memorize them because they were on a board right next to the camera.
Yeah, yeah.
And it doesn't even matter. They want to see the personality. It's really all it is for commercials. And so there's like certain things like that, and add in the social media stigma. It's crazy. It's crazy. And I wonder if that is why, because this is a thing that I've been thinking about a lot as I've been in the business. We graduated in 2014. So let's just say 6 years, 6.5 years. And, we know people who have been at this for like 15, 20 years, 30 years, and barely getting their series regular breaks. And then there's people, and they're with smaller agencies and just things like that. And then there's like people that have maybe one co-star or two co-stars, and then boom, they're with CAA and already like leading films. You know what I mean? Or like series regs. And it's just like, how does that work? Is that going back to what you're talking about, the social media? Does that have a thing to do with that? Like if they go into casting, do they really do they look for social media, or is like that came down to the end sort of factor when you're in
In
that
my
in
in
that in
my
that
exp-
yeah, in that experience?
yeah, in my experience, it was a deciding factor. Like it
Okay.
was more about the first things were the look,
Yeah.
the read, how they took notes,
Good. Mhm.
availability, and then the social media became the deciding. Yeah,
Yeah. And I see how and why. I mean, it's a money game at the end of the day.
for sure.
And
Yeah,
they want to know that the people that they hire are going to get butts and seats.
that's right.
And if they could, if they were equally talented, if this is like, it seems like it was a flip of the coin sort of thing, and they didn't flip a coin, they just went to see what the next advantageous area was, the next tool in their toolbox, and just so happens to be a vanity thing now.
Yeah.
you know
Mm.
there's just so many people that do social media, and there's so many successful people that do social media that get work, and they're not that talented. I mean,
Oh,
you watch enough TV, you know.
oh God. Oh Lord.
I mean, look
Preach
at
and
me.
testify, Jorge. Oh my God.
I mean,
So
I was on
true.
TV for crying out loud. Don't let anybody on there. I can barely read. So how long did you do that for?
I did that for just over 2 years.
Cool. Cool.
Yeah.
And you learned a lot. And did that kind of burn you out from the business, or did it kind of like make you I mean, there was some positive. There had to be.
Oh my God. No, there was so much. Well, first of all, I'll give you some tea. So a couple of our teachers came in for auditions. Like, it
Do not hire.
was so bizarre because it was just like, it was very odd, the experience
Yeah.
of having them walk in the room and see them from that perspective
Hmm.
of like the auditioner having been the one to audition for and in front of them or work in front of them. So it's a very strange Freaky Friday moment. But
As the auditioner, okay.
yeah, yeah.
Remember, if they were our teachers, I'm sure these could have been teachers you did love too. I mean, it
I
could have been
loved, yeah, both
it
of
could
them.
have been
Yeah.
it was like it could have been one of those things where they gave you notes like all 3 years or whatever the whole year was of a certain thing, like don't do this with your feet or don't do this. And the moment they audition, you're looking at their feet and you're like, he without sin cast it the first stone. I see you with your feet there. You should have just given a note. I was like, don't do that with your feet. Let's just try that and not sucking this time.
Well,
No.
to be fair, I was their reader.
Awesome.
So I was the one who, so that was another cool part of it, is I got to read with some of my heroes that came up in that office.
Oh,
Like
I
it was really, really, it
bet.
was like, oh my God, we get to play together. It was really, really cool. I will say both of these instructors just killed it, nailed it,
Yeah,
absolutely, just
that's
hands
awesome.
down. We're just like, oh, it was so brilliant to see like a proof of concept
Yeah,
for them to
yeah,
like come in and just
yeah,
like slay it. And I was like,
yeah.
y'all, this is like
That
instructors.
is,
So it was very cool.
yeah, that's
Yeah.
gotta be so cool to see that. And you said you've seen your heroes. What does it also feel like to see? I mean, everybody, has their day, and then there's some days that we aren't on point. To see
Sure.
some of these people that you admire that are established in the industry who've been working forever, and you see them come in and they're like, this wasn't their day. This part really wasn't for them. Like does it humanize them a little bit? Like, does it make you feel like, you know what? Everyone is human at some point.
Yeah, I mean, I think for sure on a certain level, but I will say for the most part, they seem to have a pretty good idea
Yeah.
of who they were,
Yeah.
and they were much less concerned about molding themselves to the role
Yeah.
than they were just coming in and being themselves, and you either take it or leave it, and not in like a baller way.
Yeah.
So it was almost as if some of them coming in there had a feeling around like, this is probably not going to be like something that I book,
Yeah.
but I am in this office and I am reminding you of my existence and my availability.
Ooh.
And that's not shade. Like that's like real. Like they came up to do like a meet and greet. Remember who I am.
I'm not
I
gonna
come in.
lie. That's giving me goosebumps thinking about that, because that's what my whole MO in this business was. I may not book the part, but I want you to know who I am by the time
Right.
I leave. And that's really kind of like it makes me feel it's validating. You know what I mean? Like that, okay, I was doing the right thing. But to know that they do know who they are, that's really good. And if you're listening or watching and you're an actor and you're always wondering, like, I've always told people this, and you're pretty much just confirming what I've always thought is the part might not be for us, right? But if you go in there and you are yourself, which is I have a follow-up question to this too, because you mentioned something, is that if you are yourself, they will remember,
Mhm.
and you could possibly get called. It could be a year, it could be a month, it could be the next week for something else. So always remember that. And my follow-up question to that is that, so some of these actors, they might not have been, for this role, but you said that they were themselves. They knew what they were. So would you say going in for an audition, as long as the people, the breakdowns are there, but a lot of times the breakdowns get tossed out the window, right? Like, because
Mhm.
I mean, I literally have gone in for parts that I'm going to exaggerate a little bit, we'll say close to balding, bearded, could have a white patch in the beard, wears glasses sometimes, has a 18-month-old kid. It could go all the way down that, and then Latino, and then they'll cast like an Asian guy or a black
Uh-huh.
guy, or
Yep.
it'll go totally different. And I was told, all right, my friend Raul said, don't even look at the breakdowns, just do the part, bring yourself. And is that what you would say or recommend? Like, for anybody or for me. I'm just, thinking, just bring in the personality, really, especially if it's a new project, right? A new character. The character hasn't
Yeah.
even been developed yet. You'll develop that once it's shooting.
Yeah, for sure. I cannot tell you.
Ugh.
I cannot tell you the number of times that the person who booked it changed the minds of the casting people, the producers, the director, going, "Oh my God, I didn't even know that you were what I wanted.
Amazing.
But now that I've seen you, it's like I can't imagine this role being in it." So that's how that happens. You know what I mean?
Is it also because when there is a breakdown,
Mhm.
let's just say I'm going in for Javier Gutierrez, ex-convict of a very violent gang, but now he is helping out in the neighborhood. When a lot of actors read ex-convict of a violent gang, a lot of guys are going to go in, and I guarantee you 9 times out of 10, they're going to be like, "Hey, man, like, don't mess with me, fool." They read it like a hard ass, right? They all read it. And I guarantee you see 9 times out of 10, every single guy's going to come in and read it with some sort of variation of the same type of hard ass way. And the
Uh-huh.
one guy who plays that subtlety or that soft nature, where maybe this guy is violent because, he was maybe abused as a kid, but there's like a new gentle nature where he's kind of like, Frankenstein's monster. Remember that scene where he meets the little girl and there's the flowers, like he
Sure.
wasn't a monster. He was just a product of what he was created, to be. And so a lot of people don't see that. Oh, it's going in the book. Everyone's going to work now.
Well, that's the thing. If all of these, people coming in for the ex-convent
Yeah.
played an aspect of themselves that could as if themselves into a situation where they themselves could have ended up as an ex-convict.
Yeah.
Imagine the variations, all of the different, shades that would have come out of all of those,
Yeah.
auditions, each bringing themselves to it.
Yeah.
That's what it is. And it's the 1 or 2 or 3 people that actually do that end up in the final round.
Wow. That's so crazy. And what else would you see in that office? Like, is there any other things not to do? I know this is turning like it's turned into like an auditioning thing, but I mean,
Oh, no
I'm
worries.
just picking your
Yeah.
brain. You worked in there.
Yeah.
I've been in that office a few times,
Mhm.
but it's always interesting to see or hear, because we hear the theories. There's YouTube channels, and then there's like Facebook pages dedicated to like the art of auditioning. These are 3 steps of what not to do in auditioning. 3 steps to
Yeah.
get more auditions. Follow me now. And it's someone who's actually been doing it, and who saw both sides of it. You're on one side of the camera, and then you're on the other side of the camera.
Mhm.
What were some takeaways, like things that you always thought were like normal that you should do, and then you realize, you know what, shouldn't have done that. That's kind of weird.
Yeah. I would say, I will start with this. The people that booked the most
Mhm.
were the ones who they came in the room and it was a non-event. It was the equivalent of, I'm going to Whole Foods for groceries at 2, Mima's coming over later, then I got to go to the dry cleaner, and then boop, at 4:15 I have this audition. And then I'm going to go around the corner to it was such a
Yeah.
non-event. It was such a just a part and aspect of their day that they were coming into play for a little bit.
Yeah.
And then they walked out and you just knew they forgot all about it. It's an energy thing.
Yeah.
And I noticed it over and over and over. And I'll give you an example. So it's the difference between, like, in audition class, they would say like over prepare.
Yeah.
Over prepare. All this, wear solid colors, no prints, like be camera ready, over prepare. Let me tell you something.
Mhm.
This over prepare, I went to drama school thing,
Mhm.
ended up working against people more than it worked for them, because everyone who went to drama school was told the same darn thing.
Mhm.
So you have these Autobots
Mhm.
coming in there, and my boss used to joke about it too and be like, "Oh, here's another one,
Mhm.
fresh and clean off the assembly line," because
Mhm.
they come in and they're holding this energy of like, "This is how I audition.
Yeah.
Nice to see you today," and it's all very prepared.
Yeah.
Thank you. I'm asking very, questions that I thought about beforehand, and I don't really care if you answer them, but I'm asking them so that you see me asking them, so that you know that I care and I came in with a question, because I was told to always have a question. Because if I don't have a question,
Where's my mark? It's like,
Where's
where's my frame? Was my framing right here?
right?
That's funny that you bring that up about the over preparation, but also the dress attire for auditions. Like I think I did a video a little while ago about the dress attire for auditions. Or you know what? No, it was in an episode. I was talking to my friend Jackie Guillen. We were talking about audition attire and how people like really overdress. Or like I went into Orange is the New Black audition, playing a police officer, and I went in just with the black polo. Like I really like in my mind, if I'm gonna go in for something, I will wear a suit unless I will only wear a suit if it specifies suit. Like if you're security, like I will wear a suit. But if I don't have to wear a suit, I'm not gonna wear a suit, especially in the middle of summer. I want to be comfortable. I
Yeah.
want like listen, I'm not a costumer. I'm not a wardrobe guy. At least I'm presentable and it's not distracting. I'm not going to wear bright neon shirt if I'm going to be like, a security guard. And this one guy came in a full police outfit, a full police outfit. And I'm like, oh my gosh, that just screams desperation. Like, I really hope that your lines and everything I hope you're off book, first of all. And I hope you even know what's going on in the scene because you had all this energy focused on the costuming or the dress than the actual freaking um scene. Like
Yeah.
if you go to Telsey's office, and I say Telsey's office because that's the big one, the Broadway house
Sure.
casting office, and there's a million things going on in that office. And they have all the Broadway shows, Hamilton or whatever thing is going on that I'm never auditioning for over there. And then they have the TV stuff and the commercial stuff. And I see all these girls and I ask, like, you know, Rosa, if this is what they teach in musical theater school, and it's like if it's Yale or NYU or whatever, like these girls, they wear so much makeup and dark red or bright red lipstick, like every single one of them, it does not look natural.
Yeah.
And they're reading for, I don't know, something that's kind of like gritty or and I'm just like, I guarantee you the girl who books that or the person who books that is going to be the one that wasn't all made up like that, because it just seems like it's just so forced. You have already if it's, especially if it's a musical, you have to probably do some sides and you have to do a song. That's already a lot on your plate. And if you're focusing on how your lipstick looks before the audition, then your focus isn't where it needs to be. And you're obviously not relaxed because you're just thinking about like, oh, is my lipstick all right? And my eyeliner, like my blush, okay? I mean,
Yeah.
yes, you want to be made up. Yes, you want to look presentable, unless you're reading for a crackhead, or it's like I mean, some crackheads wear makeup. It happens. I don't know. But did you find that to be distracting sometimes, where like they came in shirts tucked in, and, not even they're going in for, you know, I don't know, gang member number 3, and they're wearing like something a lot nicer than a gang member would wear, or they're just overthinking the costume than the scene. Did you see that a lot, or?
Yeah, no, absolutely. And time again, it was the people in a certain age demographic
Yeah,
that, you just knew that they graduated recently and were,
yeah,
towing a certain line. But it again, it also comes down to an energy thing.
yeah.
It was the people. I saw so many like ladies come in there, and the ones who booked
Hmm.
were the ones who just came in like they were running groceries,
Hmm.
took off their jacket, had a tank top underneath, put their hair back in a bun, and said, "Where's my frame? This is it." And gave it to the cat, like just
Yeah,
was right in it. And it was impossible. Here's the thing, when you're made up like that and it's all this,
yeah,
right? It's an energy going this way at you.
yeah,
I'm coming at you with all this,
yeah,
right? But if I allow my palette to be more neutral
yeah.
and it's about the work that I'm doing, I'm inviting you to come towards me. And I
Oh,
saw it over and over and over again. It was the lean in versus the lean back.
yeah. That does make a lot of sense, because I remember in I mean, casting offices always have like a waiting room, and you
Yeah.
can see the ones that, and your office was one of them, and there was like a few others where you could hear through the doors the notes being given, and I can tell like, oh yeah, this person's not going to get notes. I don't think they're going to get notes, but I think this person over here is going to get notes. And sure enough, I sit by the door all the time just to hear what notes. I mean, and even if it's not for like
Yeah.
my scene, if it's like a female or like just something totally different, I listen to it and I'm just like, yeah, you can feel that energy. You can also smell the desperation in the room. They're overly polite, energetic, or like it's just you can see it's like this false. I don't want to say false gratitude. It's just a weird. You can just smell desperation in the room
Yeah.
or in the waiting room. So I can only imagine that it's heightened when they go in there. It's like this is, for example, like you. I'm sure you saw this. Hi, I'm Jorge Chapa. I'm 5'10", and I'm rep by so and so. How are y'all? Oh, no, take your time. I got nothing planned today. I just worked earlier this morning. Always, right? There's
Yeah, and
always,
that's a very and that energy that you just
it's
showed so
fake conversation. Like it's a
it's
forced
inauthentic.
conversation. Like
Yeah.
it's a cadence that I heard all the time, and you can
Yeah,
hear it in the
yeah.
waiting room. Like, huh, what's going on in there? Yeah, so many sides. I don't even know if I'm going to book this. And they're like trying to psych themselves up, but trying to psych the other people out. It's annoying. Like that's why I like my group of guys that I would audition with. We are the guys that you will see. So if you look at the podcast of the boys, it's me, Danny, and Renes,
Mhm.
us, and then there's like other guys, like 4 or 5 other guys, and we're the same guys in the room, and none of us go in there with this arrogance. We go in there like we're just hanging out. Like there was one time we were literally at Telsey for an hour after the audition, just hanging out, chatting in the waiting room. And like they said, like one of the casting, directors was like, "You guys are still here? Like, what are y'all doing?" It's like, "I'm just gonna set up camp here." Like, it's just like, it wasn't a problem. They were joking around with us, but that's at any given time, you'll see one of us working. And like Danny, he just worked. Renes was working, and then there's just always somebody working. And we'll even text each other, "Hey, why aren't you at this audition?" That's when when your agents aren't on their, because like we keep in touch. Like we will text each other, "Hey, bro, did you go to this? Are you going to this? Like, are we getting lunch afterward?" Like it's one of those things. Like we meet up and we go to this. Like it's just like a good community. And I find that with
Right
the
on.
character group, like us, the Latino character group, like we're tight like that. And I know that in some other groups it's just highly competitive. It's toxic. And I've seen it, in the waiting rooms where it's like there's another group auditioning for the pretty people roles, and man, fire and lightning is being shot through those eyes at each other. It's just like
It's
they get
true.
up like, "Hi, break a leg, girl," and like they get up and like you can see that little like they're following them into the room. I'm like, that's awesome. Cat fights. Did you see a lot of that, or did you see like? Did you ever get told you were wrong, or were you there when the casting was told they were wrong on an adjustment where an actor said, "No, I don't think that's how that would be done"?
No.
That's so good.
No.
I've
No, no,
heard.
no. But Barden Schnee, I mean, the environment I don't feel like was conducive to a lot of back talk. And I mean that in the best way
Yeah,
possible.
it's pretty cool. It was very laid back from what I remember.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah,
Yeah.
very very good environment there. And so you did that for 2 years,
Yeah.
and then you left. Was it
I
just
left. Yeah. So I I did a lot of soul searching
Mhm.
because because part of the deal with, working there was that I would get auditions. I would, be
Mhm.
included in the groupings and I would, and that was great. I had a lot of great experiences with that and I
Mhm.
booked and it was fabulous.
Yeah.
But I started to feel really unhappy.
Yeah.
I would get home from these things and I thought, I, I, I should be, air quote, right?
Mhm.
Feeling really good and happy about X, Y, and Z and everything
Yes.
that's going on. And I'm very fortunate and all of this stuff. But I was I carried it home with me because I could not help but be every actor that came into that room and the look on their faces, right? When they
Mhm.
left after they heard, like, okay, thank you, that'll be all. Because
Mm.
you know darn well when you don't book something.
Yeah.
You know it. Now, you
Yeah.
don't always know when you do,
Yeah.
but you know darn well when you
Yeah.
don't. And
Yeah.
it was really, really heavy. And I started to see a lot of that, like I said, behind the scenes. And I thought, why am I so miserable?
Hmm.
So I did some soul searching.
Yeah.
And, I was talking to my mom about it actually at the time. And she goes, well, if you were going to die like in a year,
Yeah.
like what would you do with the year? And I said, well, I always wanted to start my own acting school. You know that. Like ever
Yeah.
since I was very little, I always wanted to do that. And she said, why wait, honestly, at this point? And I said, whoa. Like it was a moment for me where in my mind I had written a narrative for myself that I
Hmm.
had to be old and gray mama bear, smoking a cigarette,
Yeah.
having done 30, Broadway shows and
Like Miss
oh
Patty from the
yeah,
Gilmore Girls.
yes, darling, except, a Miss Patty who, had, playbill.
Yeah.
We love Miss Patty, but Miss Patty stayed
Look,
small town.
right above me, Stars Hollow.
Do you know that they're doing a 4-episode return coming up like next week? They're coming back for 4 episodes.
Is it confirmed? Because I know they were still like
No,
trying
it's
to get it
airing. No, no, no,
confirmed
no, 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 no. It's airing. I have them set to record on the DVR.
for new Gilmore Girls.
4 new more Gilmore Girls. It's going to be 4 nights in a row, starting I think next week, Thanksgiving week.
No, no, no. Really?
You're welcome. You're welcome.
Girl.
Yes.
You just made. Let me tell you a funny story before we continue about Gilmore Girls, and we're gonna get sidetracked, and that's what the beauty of this. This is just friends catching up. I worked at a gym as a survival job, and I was like, I spoke to on an episode I recorded yesterday with my friend Viet, who worked at the gym with me. We were talking about this, but this was I started working at Equinox. And it was like my first few months there. And then I would work out before my shift. I worked the afternoon shift, the closing shift. So from like 5 to 11. So yeah. And I would work out before because I had those privileges. I could use the showers. Like they wouldn't, chase me off as long as I just didn't talk to any of the members and avoided eye contact. I'm kidding. They wouldn't make me do that.
Oh, what?
They had the showers for the help, and that I would have to go there. No, I'm joking.
God.
I got to use the rich people showers, and anyway, they there was this young guy that would work out there, just like a bro. Like I would say hello. He's very nice. He would go and work out. He's like, "Hey man, how you doing?" And I'm like, "I'm good. How are you?" And he's like, "Oh, I'm good. I'm just gonna get my run in. You get your workout in, okay?" And I'm like, "Okay, good, yeah." So he'd work out and he'd run like 8 miles, and I would just lift weights and avoid cardio because deadlifting is not a crime. And, he every day we would say hello. He's just a nice guy. He left. After like maybe 8 months, he just stopped coming to the gym, and I'm like, oh man, Matt was really nice. And we're watching Gilmore Girls. I started watching Gilmore Girls in like 2017. Rosa and I, like, we had never seen it.
Oh, a latecomer. Okay.
Rosa was watching it as a kind of like, we had just finished watching Desperate Housewives. Like, we're really late on shows, really late. And so we needed a new show. So we were watching Gilmore Girls, and I liked it. And then we got into the season where Rory goes to Yale.
Sure.
And then we're watching it, and then the guy pops up, and I'm like, I know that guy. And Rosa's like, what? I was like, I know him. That guy, it's Matt. That's my friend Matt. I know Matt. And she's like, what? I was like, he was the guy at the Equinox, the nice one that would run all the time. That's him. And it was Matt Zucri. I had no clue who the hell he was. And I don't know if he was super nice to me for that long time because I had no clue who he was. So I didn't treat him like he was Logan Huntsberger. You know what I mean? Like, he was Logan Huntsberger, and apparently he was in like The Good Wife or something like that, which I never watched either.
Yeah.
So I feel bad for not supporting my friend until like recently. Now I'm gonna go back and watch.
He has
Good
enough
Wife.
support, I'm sure.
Yeah, just to get him those residuals. He needs the money. If only he can return that favor for me. Watch episodes 2 and 3 of season 1 of Divorce. But yeah. So sidetracked about that. Yeah, it's so crazy. So okay, Miss Patty starts all. You're gonna be the younger, more qualified, prettier Miss Patty. There we go.
Well, but yeah, so because I had grown up in a theater down in Texas
Mm-hmm.
where I took classes during the day upstairs, and then at night we would go downstairs and watch our teachers perform in plays. And
That's
so
cool.
I was really, really lucky to grow up in that environment. And my idol, Chris Wilson,
Mm-hmm.
um, she was that mama bear. She was that been on Broadway she was that person. I'd always idolized her. And so I told myself that like I needed to get to that point before I would even consider doing anything like that.
Yeah.
But I realized in that conversation that my heart, really was in making my little piece of the world a little bit better. And
Yeah.
I just felt like maybe I could contribute something, because I felt like I was contributing to a machine
Yeah.
that I didn't particularly like.
Yeah.
And so I took a good hard look and I thought, well, I do love the creating of it. I love theater. What can I do around that that
Mm-hmm.
I feel like is making my little piece of the world better, as
Mm-hmm.
opposed to throwing fuel into a fire that has burned me in so many other. And not to be shady, I mean, there's a
Yeah.
lot of good stuff in it, but
Yeah.
I just was like, I got to do something where if I die in a year, I
You would
can
feel
go
good about.
feel like
Yeah.
I contributed
Yeah.
something.
Yeah.
Yeah, I went from there.
I totally get that. I think that's why I created this podcast as well, is that
Mm,
I wanted to reach out to people that I felt well have inspired me throughout, my life, my journey in not only the business but in life, but also I feel that would, be inspirational to others out there. You know what I mean? And um I just I know what you're talking about being burnt out of the industry or seeing the certain things, because there was a point where I was working and I was going in for the same things over and over and over again. And I'm not going to say like I was just going in for like the stereotypical Latino roles. I was just getting kind of pigeonholed, not just in those roles, but like just smaller roles where it was just co. And it took me a while before I started breaking into the recurring, into the guest stars. And even then, I would still go back after doing a guest star. I would go and audition for a co-star. And I was just kind of like, there's one thing about being on TV, and then there's the other thing of having pride in your work and being happy doing what you're doing. Where, there's people who are satisfied, just getting in there and doing their 2 or 5 and unders. But it's kind of like, I've done that. I want to see what I paid a ton of money to learn how to do, or to like, you know, basically hone my craft. I want to grow with it. Like, I've already paid my dues. I want to see if I'm able to develop a character arc, maybe even if it's a guest star. And I ended up doing a few guest stars, but even after those guest stars, I would go back and do codes. And I was kind of like getting really, really upset about that and getting kind of
mm,
jaded, and luckily I've kind of moved past that. So I also learned the hard way is that when you start not doing the co-stars, you don't get as many auditions because the guest stars in the series regs are few and far between. So that was an adjustment period, but I get it. Like it's very easy to feel good about going in for the co-star or booking the co-star and then seeing someone else post on Insta. That's why I also hate social media, and I got rid of social media that whole winter of 2019 because I didn't want to get in a negative headspace. Because I didn't want to open up my social media and see deadline articles posted of people like series reg. This is
mm,
welcoming this person as a series reg or a recurring guest, or and these are my friends. I should be happy for these people because if I see them on my Instagram feed, they're my friends. And it's crazy. Like, even if it was like females, like booking series regs, I'm like, why am I even getting jealous or like getting negative about this? I should be cheering these people on because we've all had our own little struggles. And like the industry part of that, or the competitiveness or the competition mode of, you know how it was like the last year or during showcase, that whole time, like, who's going to get the agent first, who's going to get the manager first, or who's going to book the first job, and the first professional job, or who's going to become famous first. That was that was giving me anxiety. I don't like that. And then
mm,
when I did book some of the stuff that I did, I caught wind of people talking about me, saying, of all the people in our class, can you believe it was this guy? It was me. Like, and it's just like the negativity of this business. It's just like, it's there's haters. And I try to stay positive, and it's just it's very difficult. So I totally get why you want to do something more fulfilling, and I'm glad you did. And you're working with kids, where if anyone needs to start learning the positivity of the industry, it's children, because that is such, oh my God, I hated seeing kids audition.
Woo!
Momagers and dadagers
Oh, honey, I could
drive
write a
me
book.
up a wall.
The worst.
If you
The
can teach
worst.
them
Yeah.
that it was fun, and it's not about the fame, it's about playing. Good for you. That's like the positive. Like it's up to them outside of the room if they want to make it about something else. But I'm glad that you're teaching that and making it fun, because you're doing fun productions too.
Yeah.
I saw that like on social media. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's really fun. How long did you do that, or you're still doing that?
No, so let's see. I started that in, let's see, 3.5 years ago or so.
Mm-hmm.
So had a good few years with it. And then I was starting to, sort of feel like, okay, I feel like I've done this.
Mm-hmm.
What could there be another outlet for my creativity? So I had started thinking about that, and then COVID came along.
Mm-hmm.
And that was the name of that tune. So it was one of those things where, I felt like I had been feeling a bit, like, oh, let me just kind of like open my horizon to the next chapter. What could this look like, going forward? How can I adapt it to be more livable? Because to be honest, owning a school, is like super hard. Like it was like
I can imagine.
hard. Like it really was. And honestly, by nature, I would not necessarily, I don't fit in comfortably to the role of boss. I'm an Aquarius. I'm like, let's all work together. We're all equal. Well, that doesn't fly. Like when you own a business, you can ask Tristan. Like he saw like he worked for me for like, almost most of the time.
Yeah. I actually saw Tristan for like a cup of coffee, like a literal, like we drank the cup of coffee and had to go back because the baby was just born. And we met up, and I think he was going to a rehearsal for you for the school right after that. But good guy.
He's a good one. I think he told me about that actually.
Yeah.
But yeah, so yeah, no, it was wonderful. It was just one of those things where I had little time for anything else, and I was doing the channel while I was doing that.
Yeah.
So it was a juggling act, the likes of which I don't even know like how I did that at all.
Yeah.
But yeah.
So you mentioned the channel. I had no clue that you had a channel, a YouTube channel, Lady Crow Tarot, right?
Yep.
When did you get into that? Like, how long have you been doing that for? Like, I think I remember you mentioning that throughout grad school, and like, I vaguely remember. Did you do this in grad school or
no?
No, were you were always. I mean, you mentioned. I mean, I'm old.
No, this is no. I will. I'm coming up on 2 years in a few months. So
how'd you get into that? It's crazy.
Well, I think it was a bit fate in a way. So I had never really been.
Would you say it was in the cards?
I would say that it was a card that I chose to pick up and work with.
Nice.
In a way, because it was definitely a choice on my end for sure.
Yeah.
No, it was a bit happenstance. I was researching something online, and these YouTube links came up for, having to do with what I was looking into. And so I started watching these things, and then I started getting recommended like these, Aquarius, July, reading. And I thought, what's this now? what do you mean people do readings on you? I mean, I had no idea. I had done readings since I was 16. My mother was a reader and it had always been a part of my life. I could
Yeah.
not believe that people would even be able to do readings for
Yeah.
large groups of people based on
Yeah.
your astrological sign on YouTube. So I
It's
started watching these.
yeah, that's amazing. I've never done it. Rosa's done it once.
Yeah.
Yeah, before we left. I grew up in
Yeah.
a super religious
I was
household.
just going to say,
Super
yeah.
religious household, and
Mm-hmm.
even to this day, it was like one of those crazy churches where they start dancing as soon as the music starts, and
Evangelical. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
super evangelicals, and it's like a circus. It's just like
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
like the best way I can describe my church experience growing up was there's a sketch on SNL with Keenan Thompson, and he has this like a talk show, and it's called What's Up With That, you know and all of a sudden, like, he'll have a guest, ask a question, and all of us, like, as the guest is starting to answer the question, you hear like it starts dancing, and then like Fred Armisen comes out with the saxophone, and Keenan's talking about like what's up with that, what's up with that, and Jason Sudeikis is in a full out Adidas tracksuit with a Kangol hat and chains, break dancing, just doing like the Running Man, and it's just like a circus. And that's how it was. The moment the praise and worship music started playing, it was like, what's up with that? Like the random people with like flags, and like the lady dancing from 14 rows behind starts dancing through the aisles. And it was just,
Yeah.
it was, if those people say that tarot cards are crazy magic, I would have to say, well, we got to point the mirror in the other direction, because this looks pretty crazy to me if you're asking me. So yeah, so you got into this. So you've been doing, you've had readings since you were 16. So you know all about this, and you got into this by watching, just seeing that it was possible to do this for a big audience.
Yeah, so I had done readings for friends and family since I was a teenager. And
Okay.
and Kyle will tell you, like, I never talked about it. I never really wanted anyone to know, because growing up in the South myself, I was very familiar with those stigmas, and I just thought, like, I'm an actor, here's this thing that I can do, but I'm not exactly going to lead with that,
Mhm,
right?
mhm, mhm.
So then I started watching these things on YouTube, and I was like, whoa, this could be like fun. This could be like camp. This could be like an outlet, something that I can do creatively while using, these tools that I have
Yeah.
and having fun with it.
Yeah.
And thus Lady Crow was born.
Lady Crow. And so you started the channel, like, you did your first video. Were you nervous? How did you have like a decent, like, did you think about the setup or lighting,
Oh
or
my
you
God,
just
oh
like,
my God, oh my God.
because I have a YouTube channel as you are watching it from right now, listener, viewer, and it's hard to get views. So I just wonder, and like, if you look at the earlier episodes, they look like shit. Like mine, like they look like I was recording the original ones in my daughter's closet. The first like 10 episodes were in my daughter's closet, and now I'm under a Stars Hollow poster, and I got a little bit of lighting just because it's just so dark, and I got a new laptop. But like, it's one of those things where it's like, did you worry much about that stuff, or just like, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do a reading, I'm going to record it, I'm going to title it, and I'm going to hit publish?
Yeah.
Then you look away and forget about it. Like, was the growth there, like after a week, or you're like, man, this sucks, I only got like 10 viewers, or like, boom, 1,000 viewers, and then 1,000 views, and then it just snowballs? I'm just so curious, because
Yeah.
I've never talked to someone with a successful YouTube channel, and I talk to myself all the time. You can see I post videos like almost daily, like, and yes. So I want to know what a champion sounds like. I want to know your story,
Well,
your
hold on. Let me
tale.
see if I can find one. Um, listen, coming from, a theater background, working cat, like, listen, if you don't think that I didn't have Kyle Lemaire over here with his camera and video set up for lighting, angle, and
Oh yeah.
sound, if you don't think that I didn't do a rehearsal reading, okay, where
Yeah.
I read for a friend on camera, I said, this is a rehearsal.
Yeah.
Come on now. I had that stuff down to a point. I had treated it like we were on set, honey.
Good.
Like I was committed to it being, like, because that's the thing too, like watching a lot of the other readers, I can't help myself. Like I was like, oh, lighting's a bit, oh, well they could,
Yeah.
and a little bit of, and a little bit of, let's do some vocal exercises before we hit
Do you do
record so
some
we can get it out.
some good old augas before there? Huh? Some auga.
I was always partial to Buttagutta and What to Do.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, so I do treat it a lot like I'm going on stage. For sure.
Good.
Every single time I do it. So I did the rehearsals. There was definitely some trial and error where I was like, oh, that works. Oh, that doesn't work as much. Oh, let's try it this way. But yeah, you know what I did, Jorge, though? At the end of the day,
Yeah.
I went on there and I was my, wacky self with my pop culture references and my yes queen and all of this stuff. And it just grew. The people who got me found me.
And how long did that take you? A week, a month, 2 months?
No, I would say like I grew pretty quickly in the first year. I would say that I was averaging about 1,000 new followers every 2 weeks because I was posting every 2 weeks. So you get more like when you post. So I was getting about 1,000 every couple of weeks there. And then it kind of like tapered off a little bit and held steady and then would grow in other, leaps and bounds and stuff like that. But yeah, it grew rather quickly. Yeah.
Here I am sitting fat with 159 people. Maybe after this one, I'll get like maybe 162. And that's not 162,000. That's 162 individuals. So probably like 150 of them are robots. They're bots. Wow. So it grew that fast.
Yeah, it did grow pretty quickly. Yeah.
That's so crazy. And like, you haven't been like, I know there's been a lot of like a YouTube drama with demonetization and all that stuff, but that hasn't affected you or anything like that, right? You're not putting anything controversial out there. You're not talking about conspiracy theories or,
No.
That's good. That's so crazy.
Yeah, no.
And you've been doing this for how long?
So I will be at God, wait, let me do math. I will be at 2 years at the beginning of next year. So almost 2 years. Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah. And how long are you going to want to do this for, or just until you get tired of it?
I think about these things. I do love a reinvention.
Mm-hmm.
I do feel like there are a lot more things that I want to do.
Yeah.
I feel like I will continue doing this as long as I feel like I am of service.
Nice.
And I'm having fun.
That's really all that matters.
Yeah.
That's what I feel about the podcast. I mean, I'm doing this knowing that I'm not Joe Rogan and I'm not going to get hundreds of millions of downloads or viewers or whatever. Like, I'm not. I'm realistic with this, and I know that I'm not part of some network. I'm not part of Gimlet. I'm not part of NPR. I'm not involved with any of those. I'm an independent guy. I'm not a known actor. I'm just that guy who is in that thing that if you're falling asleep watching a marathon of like Chicago PD, you might see my episode. But that's just like what it is. But this is very fulfilling to me, talking to people, having these conversations with interesting people from all different walks of life. And I think that's a very, very special thing to have. If you can do something that makes you happy, then do it. Like there's so many people that will hate on whatever it is. Like, oh, why are you doing tarot cards? Or, like, why are you doing a podcast if no one's listening or watching? I was like, well, you know what? It makes me happy. If it makes you happy, like, how is it affecting you? You don't have to watch it if you don't want to. You know what I mean? Like, people are they're total haters. That's all they are. There's a bunch of haters out there, and we need more positivity, So I don't know. And what do you mean reinvent yourself? Like, are you still wanting to act? You're moving, aren't you?
I am moving. Moving moving to England.
How is that with COVID? Like, are you able to move? Like, you just traveled.
Yeah.
There's no restrictions right now?
No, I mean, well, there's no technical restrictions. They have you fill out a form so they can
Hmm.
contact you and check in and see that you're self quarantining for 2 weeks upon arrival. But no, I mean,
Hmm.
this is not the thing is it's England, it's not Greece, it's not Germany, it's,
Yeah.
it's England.
Yeah.
So no, it's been relatively painless. I'm also been really fortunate enough to travel in a way that is the safest, way possible.
Hmm.
My little pod, and
Oh yeah.
yeah, it's been yeah, pretty much a non-event
Okay.
overall. I think a lot of people there's a lot of news coverage and a lot of preconceived notions about oh god travel cover, but
Uh-huh.
it's then you get there and you're like
Yeah.
wow, no, nobody's here. I feel
Yeah.
a lot safer on this airplane where people are doing what they're supposed to do than I
Yeah.
do walking my dog around these parts. So
That's the thing. Like, I'm so glad that we left. We left in December before all of this happened,
wow.
and we were living at the
Yeah.
Beacon. So we were
Uh-huh.
right there at the Beacon, and it was right off of Bergen. It's on Montgomery and in Jersey City. And
Mhm.
one of the things aside from COVID, well, COVID was a big thing because being in such a huge apartment complex, it was a compound. We're a fenced-in compound of 5 or
Yeah.
6 buildings. So many people use the same elevators, and you have
Mhm.
to use the elevators. Um, I mean, we had to because we had the baby in a stroller. Um,
Sure.
and I just like I just I don't know how living would have been had we been forced to quarantine. Like Rose is working from home. And here it works out because we have 3 times the square footage and we're paying half the rent, or not even rent, we own the
I'm
house now.
sure. Yeah.
And the other thing was, if there's any kind of protest, or there's always some sort of element within the protest that isn't part of the protest that ends up starting to vandalize or loot or whatever. Like, say if they were going to go after buildings, the Beacon would have been a target. I would assume, just because it's quote unquote considered a luxury building. I don't know why, but it was that, and our apartment was actually right there at the entrance. And those
Mm.
windows, like if you drive by the Beacon, it was that first apartment on the sidewalk you walk into.
Oh wow.
That was it. That was the baby's room. It was under that window, about 10 feet below that.
Wow.
So if anybody, even if it wasn't a protest, or if things get crazy, if like people want to storm that place, they want to break the window or anything like that happens, that's my child's room.
Right.
There's just this unease, like you don't know what's going to happen, during any kind of, luckily I don't, did anything happen in Jersey City with the protests or anything, or was that just New York, Manhattan?
No, yeah, no, we had peaceful protesting here.
Good, I'm glad. And it seems like that's the case in Jersey City. It's changed so much too. It's
Yeah.
been very gentrified, and like it would the 6 years that I lived there, that we lived there, we saw
Yeah.
it change like
Yeah.
so rapidly. But more families, a lot of Indian families. There's just like a lot.
Yeah.
That's the change. It wasn't like the yuppies moving in. I mean, on the waterfront, yes, that's where all the yups
Oh wow.
were.
Yeah. Yeah. For
But
sure.
where I was around that area, and I think around where you are too, on Grove Street, there's a lot more families. It's just a family-oriented area, and I like that. But I just don't know how we would have, how it would have been, especially in like toilet paper shortages, and
Oh my God.
especially with a baby, you know.
Yeah, with a bit. Yeah.
And if Rosa had to work in that small apartment, like it would have been a nightmare, because it's just we have a house and it's hard. Because the kids like all cries and
Yeah.
crying and all that. So I'm glad that it didn't get too crazy there. Was there ever any time that you were concerned about it? Or I mean, just you walk your dogs, you don't really have to venture into the city anymore, right?
Yeah, no, and I never really did anyway,
Yeah,
except,
I didn't either. Yeah,
under some, peer pressure, because I know a lot of people that live there, but
yeah,
no, no, I've never really been very fortunate. Also, living where I live, I've been kind of in a kind of a sweet spot with
yeah,
it all, I would say.
yeah,
But that does not mean that it was not intense here in a lot
yeah.
of other ways. and getting intense here again. And I think
Yeah.
it's also, if you consider it from the perspective of we all live on top of each other here,
That's the thing.
social distancing is quite
It's
literally not possible.
impossible. Yeah.
Yeah, it's not possible. So if you look at it from that lens of walking out your door,
Mm-hmm.
like you are not able to social distance in any way,
Yeah.
shape, or form,
Yeah.
that's just, it's an intense way to live, which is
Yeah.
why also, like, even I've been so fortunate to be able to, I spent the summer in England.
Yeah.
It's so different there. Like social distancing is just like the way of life. Like everyone kind of
I've
has more space. And
I've always wanted to go to
yeah.
England, and I had the chance to go 2 years ago, and I
Mhm.
didn't because Rosa was working over there, and I didn't go
Oh.
because of a callback of something that I didn't even book. I regret it. I should have gone because I don't know
Yeah.
if I'll ever go now. Hopefully one
You'll
day.
go. You'll go.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So then, what's you're moving in March?
Moving in March. Yeah.
Wow,
Yeah.
that's so fantastic. I'm glad to see that you're
I'm
doing
excited.
well, and you've had a pretty good journey after grad school. You know, did you think that if you look back at 2014, was it May 23rd when we graduated, or 22nd? Um, I gave my fantastic speech to our cohort, and I moved everybody in those seats there at the that auditorium there on what 13th or 12th Street.
Yeah.
And then you say to yourself, like, you know what, I see myself in 2020 doing this. Are you satisfied where you're at, or you know, it's a crazy
Yeah.
journey?
Yeah. I know. I would say I am quite satisfied with where I'm at. But more than I'm satisfied with where I'm at, I'm excited for where I am yet to be.
That's that's great. That's how I'm feeling. You know, that's what I'm feeling. Like, where am I going? What's next? Because I'm living for more people now.
Ooh, truth.
You
Yeah.
know what I mean? And
Yeah.
that's a very
Yeah.
important thing for me. And I think, like, when, you know, I wasn't a single man, you know, when we were in grad school. I was married, but even then, like,
Yeah.
when I started envisioning things, it's never been the selfish, like, you know, if I get famous and rich, I'm gonna do this. Like, I'm thinking about, you know, the house I want Rosa to have, or, you know, us
Mm,
going to Vegas. Now we can't go to Vegas. Well, I mean, we could, but it just wouldn't be as fun because we had a kid. But
yeah.
you know, now I think about, like, I can't wait till she's old enough to go to Disney. You know, like,
Yeah.
she dressed up as Minnie for
I
Halloween.
saw. I
Uh
saw. So
like,
fresh.
she loves Minnie and Mickey. She's me. That's what she calls them, Mickey. She can't say the full name, me. But yeah, it's crazy, right? Like, there was all this. I look back at grad school sometimes, and I think about, like, all this unnecessary stress we put on ourselves sometimes. And to think, like, okay, yes, we were super hyper competitive. We're thinking about the different productions, or some of the hoops that we were made to jump through in that situation, when in reality, you get out of grad school and everybody's on the same page. Everybody's
Mm,
starting at the same exact place. And even then, some people don't start till later on, you know, and some people might hit success right away, and some people may not hit success for 15 years. And then boom, you know, it's something huge. And then some people venture off into something totally different and create something totally different. And, you know, it's just one of those things where I really wish I hadn't put as much stress on myself. You know, I remember those train rides after rehearsal sometimes where, like,
ooh.
what just happened, you know? But we made it out, and I feel like Kelly Clarkson, you know, what doesn't kill me makes me stronger. So yeah.
Yeah.
Um, so thank you for joining me today.
Of
I
course. Thank you for
really,
having
this was
me.
very, very awesome to catch up. We talked about casting and the process of
Hmm.
that, what you were going through, and the transitions. You know, like, talking about that transition of, like, what we really thought about what we were going to be doing, you know, from grad school. I remember when I graduated, or before we were going to graduate, I have a friend who's in casting, Lindsey Graham at Mary Venue's office there at Betty May,
Mm.
LA. And I emailed her, and like we graduated high school together. So I'll bug her from time to time just for some thoughts and stuff. I'm never gonna like ask for favors because I feel like I guarantee you a million people from high school or like, hey, my kid's gonna get into Hollywood. How do I get that? Like I hate that. But I asked her like, what would you do? What would you recommend me? I'm about to graduate. I'm trying to get into the business. What would your advice be? I mean, it's a very vague kind of like I look back at it now and I just listen to myself say it. It's a dumb question or it sounds stupid, but like not very well worded. Let me just say that it's not a stupid question. It's just not very
There you
well worded.
go.
But
Yeah.
she said, "Here is my best advice: is to create whatever it is you do. Just create something. Whether you can get your camera and maybe just record some monologues, write your own monologues, create your own shorts, maybe even
Mm.
start writing some scripts because you need to stay creative in the meantime because auditions might be hard to pick up on, coming out the gate out of grad school unless you're from NYU or Yale or Juilliard. They kind of just like fast pass you. But she said to do that. And then during that time, you might find that you have a passion for something else. And I'm really
Mm.
seeing that right now, especially like with this podcast. And I don't know where it's going to go. This is what 18 episodes now that I've been doing, and I didn't think I was going to get to 10. I'd like to get to 25, but who knows? Who knows where it goes? Maybe I just stay where I'm at in a small little channel and being content doing it, whether I'm talking to an audience of 100 people or 100 million people. I think this is just a really good transition, like a step away from the competitive nature of the industry, because I just don't like that competitive stuff where it's like this person booked that and why am I not going in for that, or why didn't I get seen for that, or I've been doing this, how come I'm not being seen, or why isn't this agency wanting to see me, like I've got more credits than this person, like I hate that. And what I thought this podcast, especially talking to almost everybody's in the industry that I've talked to, and not a single episode, I don't think a single one has gone by where we talk about the industry like that, where it's competitive. It was more uplifting. It's more like these are our struggles, and we're all going through the same exact thing. And some of us are taking a pivot and venturing off and doing something else, maybe putting this on pause for now, or I don't know. Like I don't know if I'm going to act again. I really and truly don't know if I'm going to act again. I haven't worked since June of last year. And that was just, it was a commercial spot with Cindy Lauper. And before that, it was October. That was the last like actual time I acted. So it's been 2 years, exactly 2 years since I've done actual acting. So yeah, I don't know if I'll ever work again. And I'm thinking about, well, where's life going to take me? Like where are we going, with this? Like, I don't know.
Yeah.
Am I done? Like, am I like, I think about that constantly. Like, is this it for me in the industry? I left New York, and that was a big fear that I thought like by leaving New York that there was going to be nothing happening here in Texas. And dang, I was wrong. Like January was probably my strongest January I ever had. My agents in Austin, they were crushing it. And I had some good ones, but then COVID hit. And there's all these
Yeah.
restrictions around the state. And like I'm in one of those states where just like people just don't want to behave, or in COVID just wants to act a fool here. And so I just keep thinking like maybe the longer I'm out, the people are going to forget about me. My credits are aging. Or like I have a reel where I was bald, but not as bald. I have a few more wrinkles now. I don't know. Maybe it's going to work in my favor. I don't know. But um, I'm going to keep doing this, just to see what happens. And I'm really glad it gives me an opportunity to catch up with people that I haven't seen in 6 years, like you, and to hear that you're YouTube famous and Insta famous. And I aspire to be hopefully as famous as you. So can we find you? So we can find you. We can find you on YouTube at Lady Crow Tarot.
No, so that's my Instagram.
That's Instagram.
Is yeah, Lady Crow. On YouTube, it's The Crow.
The Crow.
Crow. Mm-hmm.
How'd you come up with that?
Ooh, that's a fun question.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I had thought a lot about this, but crows were all up in my face
Really?
for some years before that. I mean, they'd fly and squawk them and just all around me. And I ended up getting a tattoo of one because it was just everywhere in my life. I was seeing them. I was hearing it's just everywhere. Everywhere you could think of the signs and symbols around crows. So I started researching their meaning and what they symbolized and everything else. And I really resonated. And for me, they represent an aspect of me that is alive when I read, but isn't necessarily at the fore. It's like an aspect of me that isn't necessarily like Liz off camera or Liz when she's not channeling. But it's the more social aspect of me. And so, yeah, it felt very fluid. It felt like crows were a sign that I asked for around starting the channel to begin with. And so it just seemed very natural and seamless. And as a result, a lot of people have, I can tell you the number of people that reach out and tell me like, oh my God, I even started watching you because I love crows and I see crows everywhere and crows mean this to me. So in a way of doing that, I've been calling in the crow people who are of that similar energy.
Yeah.
Right. And we're on our own little tribe as well.
That is so cool. Well,
Yeah.
thank you. Stay on after we stop recording, and
Okay.
we'll do a little reading or something like that. And
yeah, you got it.
My family will probably pray for me and come start doing stuff outside. But everybody that has been watching and listening, thank you. Liz, this has been amazing. I really appreciate that. Everybody give her a follow, please do. She's an amazing human being. I'm so glad to have her in my life and to, cross my path and spend the time that we did. It's always good to have this kind of person on your side, especially in, a very toxic life in grad school. I lost my sound here. Oh no. I'll be back. You can hear me now?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay. So here we are. Thank you, Liz, for joining me. Everybody, go ahead and hit that subscribe button for me and for her on her channel. And as always, you can find me on Instagram at Jorge's Isolation Podcast. Thank you, everybody. Love you. Share, like, subscribe, and be kind to one another. Bye.
Bye.